The Dauntless cut through the void like a silver blade, her hull humming with humanity's first true faster-than-light heartbeat. Commander Arya Vance sat forward in the pilot's chair, fingertips brushing the controls as if the vessel were a living creature. Every gauge glowed green. Every system waited on her word. Sole Command confirms, her flight officer said over comms. You are clear for humanity's inaugural FTL departure. Arya exhaled slowly. Acknowledged. This was the moment Earth had chased for centuries, the moment it would step onto the galactic stage. Millions watched from screens across the planet and orbital habitats. Arya wasn't just piloting a ship. She was carrying the hopes of an entire species. She engaged the drive. A low tremor ran through the deck as space folded, aperture flaring white. The stars stretched into luminous threads. And then everything slammed to a halt. The Dauntless lurched sideways as if seized by an invisible fist. Alarms shrieked. Energy conduits flickered. Arya struggled to keep control. What the? We were pulled out of the corridor, her flight officer cried. Arya's eyes snapped to the viewport. No natural phenomenon does this. Space twisted open as a vessel the size of a small moon emerged, sleek, obsidian, carved with symbols older than human history. A wave of distortion radiated outward, smothering their FTL signature. Then a voice filled the cockpit. Calm. Cold. Alien. Human vessel, your attempt to breach containment violates Galactic Directive 9. Prepare for boarding. Arya froze. Containment? A sharp crack of static sounded as the transmission continued, the voice resonating like a blade drawn across stone. Cut power. Comply, and your crew will not be harmed. Arya's heartbeat steadied to something colder than fear. They knew we were coming. She swallowed. Why would they be waiting? Before she could piece it together, the alien dreadnought locked a tractor beam around the Dauntless. Her vessel groaned in protest as she was dragged toward an opening bay, lights flickering across the alien hull like indifferent eyes. Humanity's first FTL jump. Hijacked in seconds. A chill swept through her. Whatever the Galactic Council was, it clearly hadn't planned to welcome Earth with open arms. The boarding bay was a cathedral of metal and shadow. Towering pillars supported an arched ceiling etched with glowing sigils. Atmosphere hissed in through unseen vents as Arya and her escort were marched across a polished obsidian floor. Alien guards, tall, sinewed beings in silver plating, led her through a corridor of shifting light. The air smelled faintly of ozone and something ancient, like dust from a forgotten world. They brought her into a chamber shaped like a hollow sphere, its walls alive with drifting holographs. At the center stood a figure draped in dark ceremonial armor. Archon Sale Ryth. His height alone dwarfed her, but his presence, the stillness, the precision of his movements, was what unsettled her. His eyes appeared carved from crystal, violet and unblinking. Commander Arya Vance, he said, making her name sound like a verdict. Pilot of Earth's first faster-than-light vessel. Arya lifted her chin. You intercepted an unarmed scientific flight. Identify your authority. You stand before the High Chancellor of the Galactic Council's Security Directorate. Then this is first contact, she replied, jaw tight. You're off to a hell of a start. He circled her slowly, hands clasped behind his back. Humanity's leap into faster-than-light space is premature. Your species grows with alarming speed. Without oversight, you risk destabilizing the galactic equilibrium. Premature? Arya stepped forward. We've earned our place out here. You misunderstand. Sale Ryth tapped a display. A holographic slate expanded, human history reduced to sterile data points. Your technological acceleration is irregular. Disproportionate. Statistically, dangerous. The word carried weight. Final. Lifeless. Arya's jaw tightened. You think we're a threat? I do not think, he replied. I calculate. You advance too quickly. Too chaotically. Civilizations like yours have burned half the galaxy before. Arya felt something twist inside her, a mix of indignation and clarity. So you're stopping us before we're strong enough to argue? Sail Ryth didn't deny it. Your development must be guided, he said. Restricted, when necessary. It ensures stability for all. Arya realized this wasn't first contact. This was a cage. I won't be your prisoner, she snapped. You will be contained until your evaluation concludes. The guards moved in. Arya acted first. She snatched a baton from one guard's belt, slammed its base into his knee joint, and pivoted into the second guard with her shoulder. The baton flared with a shock pulse as she swung at the third. The alien fell backward in a flash of light. Sail Ryth didn't move. He merely watched her fight with clinical interest. Very human, his expression seemed to say. Predictable. Arya bolted for the exit, sprinting through the curving corridor. Sirens echoed, lights flashed, and foreign glyphs rippled across the walls. She followed the ship's gravity wells, guessing her way toward the hangar. Twice she ducked into recessed alcoves as patrols passed. The dreadnought's architecture was unnerving, smooth surfaces that shifted as if responding to the ship's mood. Finally, she spotted it, a hangar overlooking the stars, her Dauntless suspended within a containment grid. She raced toward the platform, slammed her hand onto the manual override she'd placed earlier during her escort, just a tiny device, planted with sleight of hand when the guards weren't watching. The grid collapsed. The ship dropped onto its magnetic clamps. Arya vaulted inside, sealed the hatch, and sprinted to the cockpit. Systems flickered to life. Come on, girl, she whispered. Energy bolts crashed around her as alien guards fired. She launched as soon as the engines responded, the Dauntless tearing from the bay in a streak of white. The dreadnought's interdiction field surged, but Arya was ready. She forced the drive into a low-yield dimensional slip, dangerous, barely tested, utterly human. The Dauntless vanished into the distortion. When she returned to Earth orbit hours later, the mood was nothing like celebration. The UN Security Council had assembled an emergency session. Her ship was scanned, boarded, and escorted to a classified debriefing bay. Arya stood before a panel of exhausted officials and engineers, recounting every detail. Her commanding officer, Admiral Young, wiped a hand across his brow. You're telling us they were waiting for you? Yes, Arya said. They already classified humanity as a species to be contained. She slid a data prism onto the table, taken from the dreadnought during her escape. Earth's analysts cracked it within hours. And what they found changed everything. The Council had monitored Earth for centuries. Redirected long-range probes. Blocked outgoing signals. Nudged exploration satellites off course. Every missed contact, every inexplicable malfunction, they were no accidents. Humanity had been isolated deliberately. Arya felt a cold, controlled fury settle in her chest as the room processed the truth. We weren't ignored, she said quietly. We were suppressed. Admiral Young looked at her, eyes sharper than before. Then the galaxy wants us small. Arya leaned forward. Then they're about to see what happens when they push us. Outside the window, Earth rotated in silent blue defiance, and for the first time in history, humanity understood the scale of the cage surrounding it. And the impossible task ahead. Humanity would not remain contained. Not anymore. Earth hadn't slept since Arya's return. The revelation of deliberate isolation ignited a fire that spread from research labs to shipyards, from governments to citizens who had spent lifetimes dreaming of the stars. Humanity had been constrained without consent. Now, every mind on Earth seemed bent on breaking whatever ceiling the galaxy tried to place above them. Arya stepped into the heart of the New Awakening Initiative, a sprawling complex beneath the old lunar mass driver. Engineers moved in a whirlwind around her, teams clustering around diagnostic tables, open hull sections, and holographic schematics. The air vibrated with urgency. Chief Engineer Malik Rao jogged up to her, welding goggles still perched crookedly on his forehead. Commander, you're going to want to see this. If it's another malfunctioning power relay, I already hate it, Arya replied. Malik shook his head. This one's clean. Come on. He led her to a towering cylinder of alloy and glass, alive with swirling energy. She recognized fragments of Council interdiction tech embedded within the structure. This is from my ship, she said. Your little souvenir gave us a gift, Malik replied. Their interdiction field manipulates space-time harmonics with absurd precision. We reversed half the algorithms and built this prototype. We call it the Impulse Fusion Drive. Arya ran a hand across its warm surface. The energy felt responsive. What's the output? Enough to make the Dauntless look like a candle, Malik said. And it runs on a fraction of the fuel. She stared at him. You built this in 3 weeks. You inspired us. Before she could respond, the facility light shifted. A message flashed across every display. Council vessel detected in the Sol approach corridor. Malik's expression darkened. They barely waited. Arya headed for the command center, Malik following. Walls flicked through holographic star maps as officers established lockdown. The central screen displayed the intruding ship, a sleek wedge of polished silver cutting relentlessly toward orbit. Admiral Young appeared via secure channel. Commander Vance, prepare to accompany the diplomatic envoy. The Council is demanding immediate dialogue. Arya clenched her jaw. Demanding. Of course. The diplomatic chamber aboard Earth's orbiting platform was circular, paneled with soft lighting and mirror-polished floors. A single shimmer split open in the air, and Archon Sail Ryth stepped through, flanked by 2 attendants whose faces were hidden beneath expressionless masks. His gaze swept the chamber, pausing on Arya. You continue to defy protocol, he said. Your species has accelerated in ways that provoke concern. Arya met his stare evenly. Concern for your sense of control, maybe. Sail Ryth ignored her remark. The Council Security Directorate extends a directive. Cease all development of interdiction countering technologies. Return to evaluation status. Violations will be met with containment actions. Diplomat Celine Ward spoke up. Your government sabotaged our early space programs. You interfered with our natural development. Your directives hold no legitimacy. Sail Ryth's crystalline eyes narrowed. We ensured your survival by preventing reckless expansion. That's a convenient story, Arya said. Sail Ryth turned fully to her. You misunderstand the stakes. One species, centuries ago, rose swiftly, unpredictably. They shattered 5 star systems in a single century. We cannot allow such volatility again. And you assume we'll repeat their mistakes. You exceed all projections, he replied. Such irregularity often precedes collapse, yours or others. Arya stepped forward, voice steady. You fear what you cannot predict. For the first time, she saw something flicker in his expression, an unspoken confirmation. He lowered his head slightly, as if addressing a child. You may petition for guided membership once your development stabilizes. Arya's fists tightened. We're not petitioning for anything. But the formal meeting ended there. Sail Ryth departed without another word. The moment he left, Admiral Young contacted Arya. You saw his tone, he said. Containment isn't a negotiation. They intend to choke every breakthrough we make. Arya nodded. Then we work faster. That became the initiative's new creed. For weeks, Earth stirred under an unprecedented surge of invention. Fragments of Council tech inspired new ideas at breakneck pace. Quantum maneuvering grids emerged from deep research labs. A team in Nairobi developed adaptive shielding capable of reshaping itself mid-impact. Terraforming modules that once required planetary-scale infrastructure were compressed to the size of cargo containers. Each breakthrough echoed the same pattern. The moment humanity pushed back, creativity erupted like a second sun. Arya slipped into a rhythm that consumed every hour of her life. She ate in brief pauses between simulations, slept only when exhaustion forced her to. Yet every sleepless night felt worth it. For the first time, humanity moved on its own trajectory. Malik often worked beside her. "You know," he said one evening as they studied a prototype reactor, "the Council probably can't fathom how fast we build. They've stagnated for centuries." "They'll react badly when they realize we aren't stopping," Arya replied. "They already have." He projected a feed onto the wall. It showed a small Council vessel drifting through the outer system. At first glance, it appeared harmless, just another patrol. Then they saw the transmission logs. The vessel had deployed microdrones toward the shipyards. Each one carried a disruptor designed to subtly corrupt plasma fabrication lines. Arya's stomach twisted. "They tried to sabotage us again." Malik nodded grimly. "But we detected them. Their methods aren't subtle enough anymore." Arya contacted the command center immediately. Hours later, Admiral Young convened emergency high-level talks. "We're done playing defense," he said. "Earth will respond with strength." He turned to Arya. "It's time." The unveiling took place in the vast recess of Shipyard Helix, an orbital construction ring stretching across half a continent of stars. As Arya entered, the lights dimmed, and the hull of a newly forged warship emerged from shadow. A sleek vessel with angular lines, embedded pulse conduits, and a hull that shimmered like dark water. Human engineering, infused with everything they'd learned, and stolen. Malik stepped beside her, voice soft. "Meet the Resolute." Arya approached the platform rail. She felt something shift inside her, not triumph exactly, but a fierce clarity. Humanity had built its first real shield against the galaxy's imposed chains. Admiral Young spoke over the comms. "Commander Vance, you will lead this vessel. Train your crew. Prepare for any escalation." Arya nodded, the weight settling over her shoulders like armor. She had fought to steal freedom. Now she would defend it. Above her, the Resolute glowed with the promise of a new era, an era humanity would shape with its own hands. Sail Ryth had wanted to slow Earth's rise. He had, instead, launched its awakening. And far beyond Sol, Council members whispered in dim-lit chambers, troubled by reports streaming in from Earth. The humans were changing. Too quickly. Too boldly. And the galaxy was about to feel the consequences. When Arya stepped onto the command deck of the Resolute, the holoscreens already shimmered with incoming data. Dozens of Council warships, sleek, radiant, and bristling with interdiction spines, held position just beyond the lunar orbit. Their formation curved around Sol like an iron collar. Lieutenant Hale swallowed hard. "They're broadcasting a decree, protocol silence. Directives state all human expansion must halt. They demand control over our orbital infrastructure." Arya stared at the shimmering arc of vessels. "They're preparing a pre-war lockdown." The bridge fell silent as an incoming signal pulsed through the comms. Archon Sail Ryth appeared, his crystalline eyes fixed directly on her. "Commander Vance. Humanity has crossed boundaries without oversight. Return all advanced systems to our authority. Failure to comply will result in forced pacification." Arya stepped closer to the projection. "You don't want oversight. You want obedience." "What we want," he replied, "is stability." "By chaining an entire species?" Sail Ryth didn't flinch. "Your innovations emerge faster than our predictive models can process. You render containment a necessity." Arya held his gaze. "Containment ends today." His expression remained unchanged. Then consequences begin. The signal cut. Admiral Young's voice came through immediately. "Commander, prepare for a strategic breach. Do not fire unless required. Show them what we've built." "Acknowledged," Arya said. She turned to her officers. "Activate all defensive grids. Ready the counter-interdiction fields." A hum rippled through the hull as quantum relays engaged. The air deepened with the resonance of a ship awakening fully for the first time. The Resolute surged forward, leaving a trail of pale distortion as the counter-interdiction field unfurled. Unlike the Council's engineered suppression waves, humanity's creation flowed like a living web, adaptive, reactive, unpredictable. The blockade tightened instantly. Council cruisers launched interdiction bursts that rippled across the void. Normally, such waves would crush an FTL field and drag a ship to crawl. But the adaptive grid responded in real time, warping the distortions away like bending light through water. Field integrity holding, Hale reported. Redirecting harmonic pressure now. For the first time since this conflict began, humanity wasn't being shoved backward. Arya smiled. Let's show them how we dance. Council vessels repositioned, forming layered triangles of fire. Their precision was flawless, centuries of practice distilled into motion. But when they unleashed energy volleys, the Resolute absorbed the impact across its shifting shields, converting stray radiation into supplemental thrust. Returning momentum surged to engines, Malik said over comms from engineering. We're actually gaining speed because they're shooting at us. Arya lifted her voice. Plot a route through their center flank. Make it tight. The helmsman nodded. Threading the needle. The Resolute twisted between two massive cruisers, its hull sliding past the beams so close it grazed the shields with a shower of sparks. The blockade attempted to collapse around them, but the counter-interdiction field buckled space just enough to slip free. Gasps erupted across the Council channels. Arya could feel their shock even without hearing it. The humans weren't resisting. They were outperforming. When the blockade line reformed, Arya opened a broadcast to all Council ships. This is Commander Vance. Earth will not kneel. We will not retreat. We will meet you at the Council chamber, and you will hear what you tried to bury. A chorus of angry transmissions flickered back, accusations, threats, disbelief. She cut the channel and accelerated. The Resolute streaked into deep space, leaving the blockade unable to match its unpredictable maneuvering. Hours later, they approached the Council core world, allowed entry only because the Council couldn't decide whether humanity had become a threat or a phenomenon. Arya stepped off the ship with a small delegation, walking through towering spires of shimmering glass and metal. The Council chamber loomed ahead, an amphitheater with representatives from dozens of species arranged in vast tiered rings. Sail RYTH stood at the center platform, rigid with barely veiled frustration. You violated the containment perimeter. You jeopardized peace. Arya walked straight toward him. Peace isn't built on cages. A murmur swept through the assembled delegates. She activated a small projector. Holographic displays spiraled upward, revealing centuries of Council interference, rerouted probes, altered transmissions, covert sabotage. The evidence glowed above the chamber for all to see. You hid us because you feared what you didn't understand, Arya said. You delayed our progress. You manipulated our emergence. And when we advanced anyway, you tried to crush us. A representative from the Erythian clade pounded a tendril against the railing. Is this true, Sail RYTH? The Archon's jaw tightened. Measures were necessary. Humanity's trajectory mirrors the great upstart cataclysm. I acted to prevent another collapse. By sabotaging them, an avian delegate screeched. By guiding their growth, Sail RYTH replied sharply. Arya stepped onto the central platform beside him. What guidance? You never spoke to us. You never gave us a path to follow. You tried to stun us so we'd never reach a height that made you nervous. Sail RYTH turned to her, expression cracking. You accelerate beyond reason. You invent faster than we can evaluate. Entire star systems tremble when a species evolves too rapidly. And we evolve because we must, Arya said. We adapt because the universe demands it. You fear our pace because yours stopped long ago. The chamber rang with startled whispers. Arya looked around at the vast assembly. If the galaxy stagnates, we will help it breathe again. If younger species struggle, we will stand with them. Not because we seek dominance, but because growth shouldn't be outlawed. A younger species representative, a slender being of crystalline vines, rose. Humans inspire us. They've done more in months than some do in millennia. If they are silenced, what hope do we have? Voices joined from every direction. Supporters. Critics. Shocked observers. The council chambers spiraled into uproar. Sail Ryth raised his voice over the clamor. You have unleashed instability. Arya faced him squarely. You created it by trying to smother us. The Archon froze. The truth hung between them like a shifting star. He knew it. The chamber knew it. The era of silence had ended. Sail Ryth was removed from authority within hours. The council suspended all restrictive directives. Investigations were ordered into long-buried policies. When Arya returned to the Resolute, Earth's delegation walked beside her with lifted shoulders. The corridors felt brighter. Possibility hummed through every step. On the ship's observation deck, stars stretched in endless patterns. The blockade had withdrawn. Channels opened across the galaxy as species sent messages of curiosity, gratitude, and awe. Malik joined her, leaning against the rail. We did it. No, Arya said. We started something. He chuckled. Always thinking 2 steps ahead. Arya watched a distant nebula pulse with quiet light. Humanity moves quickly. The council feared that. Now they'll see what our speed can build, not destroy. Behind her, crew members prepared for a new chapter, expeditions, alliances, exchanges of knowledge. A horizon once locked away now lay open. Humanity had not claimed dominance. They had claimed their right to grow. And across the galaxy, ancient powers whispered to one another about the species they had tried to stop, the one that refused every chain, broke every barrier, and turned pressure into momentum. Humanity had awakened. And the galaxy would never underestimate them again. The command deck of the Astrius vibrated under the strain of velocity that not even its creators had predicted. Stellar winds peeled across the reinforced hull as the ship sprinted toward the rift corridor, toward the forbidden zone the Council had sealed for centuries. Dr. Marin Vale stood anchored at the forward rail, fingers pressed tightly against the cool plating. Before her, the rift's distorted light shimmered like a living wound cut through space. Purple-white static curled around its edges, bending stars into warped halos. Behind her, the crew scrambled across their stations with a tension that lived in the air like electricity. Graviton shear at threshold, Lieutenant Hannah called out. Another surge and we'll lose stabilization. Marin didn't look back. Hold our vector. We're not turning around. Hannah's swallow carried across the deck. Yes, Commander. Admiral Tarek Voss appeared on the holoprojector near Marin's shoulder, his vast crest raised in agitation. His eyes, cold, crystalline, tracked the rift with barely concealed dread. Dr. Vale, humanity is about to pierce a barrier older than your recorded history. My council forbade crossing it for a reason, he said. You do not grasp the danger. Marin faced him fully this time, her voice steady but cutting. Your council tried to bury Earth's potential. You quarantined us, suppressed data, lied about our capabilities. Now you expect us to trust your warnings? Voss's expression hardened. You are accelerating faster than any young species should. You've leapt centuries and decades. That kind of ascent attracts attention. Some of it, malignant. Then let us see what's been kept hidden, Marin replied. The rift pulsed. A low hum rolled through the hull, like the vibration of a massive throat preparing to speak. Captain Darius Chen, steady and composed, stepped up beside her. Marin, whatever is on the other side, there's no going back. Once we cross, the Council will brand us as violators. Marin's eyes held the rift's flickering glow. They branded us before we took our first step. The ship surged closer. Voss's hologram flickered, static crawling along the projection. The rift interfered with the feed, but his voice cut through. You misunderstand our motives, he insisted. Humanity's rise destabilizes a balance that has existed for millennia. My council believed containment was mercy. Containment is never mercy, Marin said. It's fear wrapped in pretty language. Fear keeps civilizations alive. Marin's jaw tightened. Fear won't define ours. The rift expanded on the view screen, growing until it filled every surface with swirling radiance. A beam of photonic plasma erupted along its edge as if greeting the approaching ship. Hannah shouted, field strength spiking, brace. The blast washed over the Astrius. Shields flared. Sparks cascaded from a conduit above. Marin gripped the rail, teeth clenched, eyes locked on the light. The energy wasn't random, it pulsed with structure. Rhythm. Pattern. Like a signal. Chen saw it as well. Marin, is it communicating? Not to us, she murmured. The ship steadied. The rift's light dulled into a faint curtain. Silence fell across the deck. Then, something stepped through. Not physically. Not visually. A presence. A pressure that filled the mind. A whisper threaded into consciousness like a thin needle of ice. HUMAN. Marin gasped as the word struck her thoughts. She wasn't alone, every crew member stiffened the same way. From the holochannel, Voss recoiled as though stabbed. Fall back. You are making contact with what the Council swore never to awaken. Marin steadied her breathing, pushing her shock aside. Identify yourself. The presence responded with a swell of imagery, stars conquered, galaxies darkened, fleets erased like dust. Not memory, but history. A being that had once moved freely, restrained only by the rift's prison. Its voice pressed deeper. HUMAN, CATALYST. Marin struggled to speak. Catalyst for what? The answer was not a word but a sensation, the unlocking of a sealed vault. A chain breaking. Voss's panic rippled through the fading hologram. Dr. Vale, this is why we restricted you. Humanity's neural architecture is compatible with the Rift entity. You were never meant to interact with it, your species can act as its conduit. Marin ground her teeth. You kept this from us. To protect you, and us, Voss snapped. If it bonds with you, it will escape. And we will not survive. The presence pressed closer, curious, probing, carrying a vast intelligence that moved like a cold tide. Chen reached for Marin's arm, his grip firm. Marin. Talk to me. I'm fine, she whispered, though her pulse hammered. It's trying to read our intentions. Then shut it out. It's not hostile, she said quietly. Not yet. And if it becomes so? Chen asked. Marin turned toward the rift. Then we find out why. Lights dimmed as the ship's systems strained under the contact. The rift glowed brighter, responding to the presence's interest. Voss's feed sputtered. Listen to me. The entity adapts to the strongest mind it touches. If you remain connected, you'll become its focal point. Marin didn't break eye contact with the phenomenon. Or the one who contains it. That is impossible, Voss hissed. It devoured empires before your sun ignited. Marin extended her hand toward the rift. The pressure intensified, swirling around her thoughts. She felt cold galaxies, forgotten wars, chains forged from collapsing stars. Why were you bound? She whispered. The answer slid into her mind like a blade of light. FEAR. CONTROL. ENVY. Her breath hitched. It wasn't a monster, it was a prisoner. Marin, step back, Chen urged. This thing is using you. It's showing me the truth. No, he said, tightening his hold. It's showing you what it wants you to see. She hesitated, and the entity sensed it. The pressure eased, shifting from invasive to observant. YOUCHOOSE. Marin closed her eyes. Why humanity? A pulse of clarity answered her. UNBOUND. UNTETHERED. UNFEARED. She opened her eyes. It sees us the way the Council never did, she said softly. Not as a threat. As potential. Chen shook his head. Potential to unleash it. Or potential to transform the balance, she replied. He lowered his voice. Marin, this isn't a diplomatic choice. It's survival. You connect, and we might doom the galaxy. Her voice tightened. We were doomed the moment the Council decided to suppress an entire species. The rift brightened. The entity's presence swelled, pushing for a decision. Voss's faint projection struggled through static. Dr. Vale, don't do this. Marin placed her palm against the shimmering barrier of light. The entity surged forward. And everything went white. When the brilliance faded, Marin stood upright, breath steady. The presence was still there, but no longer overwhelming. It had contracted, shaped itself to the contours of her mind, not consuming but orbiting like a second consciousness. Chen's expression twisted with fear and awe. Marin, what did you do? She exhaled slowly. I gave it a voice. Voss's hologram flickered back with horror. You've condemned us all. No, Marin said with newfound calm. Humanity doesn't unleash destruction. We break chains. The entity pulsed in agreement, a hum resonating through the hull like a heartbeat synchronizing with hers. The rift widened. Behind Marin, the crew braced for collapse. Instead, the tear stabilized, smooth, precise. A passage. Chen stepped beside her. Where does it lead? Marin's eyes reflected the shimmering void. To whatever comes next. The entity whispered its approval.